Hello, here is a video covering the basics of the student profile from the Navigate staff system. Once in your Navigate staff homepage, you can access student profiles a variety of ways. First, you'll see a list here of all your assigned students given these parameters. If you want to see all assigned students, you can toggle to all terms here, but it'll automatically default to the current term. I don't have any assigned students, so you won't see them here, but you would see your students with the name and in a blue hyperlink format. You can click it, it'll bring you straight to their profile. That's if you have students assigned to you, not all staff will. The other thing you can do is use this quick search tool at the top. You can search by ID number or by first and last name, and the results will populate. So if I type in our test student, Jill McNutt, you can see here, I can click on their name and it'll bring me straight to the student profile. Anytime you see a student's name in Navigate and it's highlighted in blue, you can click it, it'll bring you straight to their profile. So here at the student profile, let's walk through some of these things. So the overview here is what we call the 30-second gut check. Obviously, this is our test students. There's not a lot of information here, but for a student who's actively enrolled, you should see some helpful information here. This will help you kind of get an idea of certain things that you might need to know when working with a student. That's why we call it the 30-second gut check, because we encourage folks to review it prior to meeting with a student if they offer appointments. So we can see all sorts of things such as DF grades, repeated courses, withdrawn courses, GPA. And here I wanted to highlight this predicted support level. This is a predictive analytics model that will predicts the student's likelihood of persisting to the next term or graduating. So this will automatically be populated using an algorithm. It's not a crystal ball by any means, but it is useful as we segment our student caseloads to know which students, if we have some free time, should we be interacting with that need our support the most, and which students don't likely need a whole lot of support in order to persist to the next term. So you can kind of get an idea there. You can also click on that score and it'll give you a breakdown of some of the variables that are impacting that score as well. As we scroll down here, we can see the student's major, their ID number, their classification, their most recent enrollment, and you can look through their major history. You can see Jill has a lot of major history. You have student preferences, which are populated by the student when they complete their intake survey. So not all new students will have this yet, but a lot of existing students will. When students log into Navigate, they are prompted to complete an intake survey. It just tells us a little bit about them and their interests and some bio things, and then they can proceed to use the Navigate student platform to access all of the tools that are in there. That automatically populates here for us. Below that is categories. Categories are very important, so it's a good thing to have a grasp on what categories are. These are student characteristics that are brought in directly from PeopleSoft. So these could be service indicators and student groups. We map these ourselves from an administrative perspective, and then these automatically populate on the student profile when those parameters are met in PeopleSoft. So for example, if a student has a hold added to their account yesterday, overnight, it'll automatically merge, and you'll see those here today. Now, these are used all over the place in Navigate, in particular, the advanced search function. So if we wanted to drill down for specific student characteristics that we store in PeopleSoft, this is where we would use categories. So a good example of that is that all of our student athletes are put into a student group called student athletes in PeopleSoft. We bring that over as a category. So if you ever wanted to run an advanced search for just your student athletes, you could do that. And we don't capture that information and Navigate anywhere else. It's just managed in PeopleSoft and then automatically reflects in Navigate via a nightly merge between the two systems. So feel free to review categories when reviewing the student profile. This is very helpful to tell you which groups the student belongs to, which services they're enrolled in, what active holds they may have, and other helpful attributes regarding the student. Below that is tags. Tags are useful, but not as useful as categories. This is information that's not in PeopleSoft, and so we have to manually add and remove this information within Navigate. So right now we're using tags to kind of capture transfer intent. Please don't be bogged down by how much is here. You wouldn't ever have a student that has all of these tags. But you can see here that we have some tags like transfer GVSU. That just means that this student has expressed interest in transferring to Grand Valley State University. And if that helps you, if you're an advisor and you're working with the student or you're a coach, or wherever you work. If that's helpful information to you, then you feel free to review this prior to meeting with the student. We can also use tags in our advanced search filter. So if we wanted to show all students who have expressed interest in transferring to GVSU, we can do that really easily. And then we could use those results to launch communication with the student. Scrolling back up here, we'll see a profile picture of the student, basic student information, and you won't have everything that's here necessarily, but you'll have some of this. If you feel like you need more access to information here, please feel free to look me up at grcc.edu and click this Navigate Service Request and let me know what you're missing, and I'd be happy to provide that to you as long as it doesn't have any privacy concerns. So we have the student's address, phone number, etc. And then down here, we can see a list of alerts that have been issued for the student. This is through the GRCC CARES early alert system. These are also called referrals. These are just alerts that staff or faculty have issued on behalf of the student, or the student has actually used the hand raised feature to tell us that they're interested in getting connected with something. You can review those here as well if you have permission to do so. And then you have a menu of options here for taking action. So you can message the student. This is going to open up an email or text message option here where you can fill this out. You can merge some information with the student. You can add attachments. And you can send that off. That'll go to their GRCC email address if it's an email, or it'll go to their mobile number if it's a text message. You can add notes on the student. Quick note, this is not where you report on appointments. We'll cover that in a separate video. Adding a note to the student is a general note. It's broadly visible, so please use it only if it's information that should be shared broadly. We actually capture appointment notes in the appointment itself, and again, I'll cover that in a different video. We can add to-dos to the student. Again, there's more training resources on this as well. We can report on an appointment, so I'll cover that again in a different video. And we can schedule appointments for the student, although we recommend students schedule appointments for themselves. We can add the student to the student list from here. Again, covered in a different video. We can issue the alerts, and we can, well, for the most part, you won't have access to the rest of those things here. But just some helpful actions here that you can take on the right side. And you can view the student success team. So I can see who the student success coach is, if they have one, who their active instructors are, and any other folks who are assigned to the student, including academic advisor, academic department support, etc. So this is very helpful if you want to know who the student is assigned to, who they've been working with, or who they're enrolled with. Going back up to the top here, we have success progress. I'm not going to be able to dive very in depth to all of this, but if you have access, we recommend you review this. Very helpful information, very enlightening as far as looking at students' history. We can move over to their history here and see some of the actions that are assigned to the student, appointments that they've had, cases that they've had on their behalf, etc. So recommend reviewing that. We can look at their active course enrollments. Of course, our test student here doesn't have any active course enrollments, but I can see their history down here below and the grades that they've received. The Major Explorer, this is something that the student can complete in the Navigate student platform. If they haven't completed it, you won't see any information here, but if they have completed it, you can see here some of the recommendations for programming that are recommended to the student based on how they completed the Explorer. The path is going to show some of the onboarding questions as well. The academic plan, this is limited mostly to classroom faculty, academic advisors. This is going to actually bring you to a page where students can plan courses working with their academic advisor and register for those courses. And then under more here, we have the student's calendar. You can ignore study hall. We don't use that right now. Any upcoming appointments they have or recent appointments they've had, including this details box, which is where you could view the appointment summary if you have the access to view that. And conversation history with the student. This includes text messages and emails, again, only based on what you have access to view. So I hope you find that helpful. There's really a ton of information on the student profile. It's pulling most of this information in from PeopleSoft, so you don't have to be too concerned about accuracy because it should always be aligning with PeopleSoft. It is dynamic, so these populate overnight. So if there's an update to the student profile in PeopleSoft, that will be updated overnight, and in Navigate, you'll see the correct information the next day. And yeah, just really use this information. It's made to really help you do your job more effectively. If you have any questions, please let us know.